Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back, guys. We have a lot to talk about today. The Black Ops 6 Zombies DLC 1 map has been essentially confirmed, and it's also going to be coming very soon. We're going to talk about when this map is going to be the game, and more specifically, we're going to talk about what it is. So, first of all, I'm just going to say, ever since the release of the Terminus outro cutscene, I am now incredibly interested in the direction of the zombie storyline here for this Dark Ether universe and where we're going, even in terms of map direction, because at this point, I have absolutely no clue what's happening, and I mean that in a good way and also a mind-blowing way. But a couple of months ago, there were some leaks that were suggesting what the code names of the zombies maps were going to be, and one of the leaked maps was called The Keep, and this was just maybe a work-in-progress name, but this is corroborated by the fact that in the Terminus outro, we can see on the screen, there is a file called The Keep. It's plain, clear as day. It's right there on our screen for us, and so we can presume that the next map is going to be based around or called The Keep, and this is referring to King Arthur's Keep in Avalon. And speaking of King Arthur, I want to thank the sponsor of the video. Today's video is sponsored by King Arthur Legends Rise. This is a brand new game from Kabam. Chat, if you could go back to Arthurian times, what would you do? I know what I would do. Listen, but if you've ever even wondered about that at all, you don't have to anymore, because King Arthur Legends Rise has got you covered. It's a new squad-based RPG where you can rebuild the entire kingdom of Camelot, you can take on Arthurian quests, forge mythical weapons, and so on. There's so much to do, and it even has crossplay between mobile and PC. I see you over there. And also, real quick, there's a new trailer. Let's watch it.
A broken kingdom in need of a king. Besieged by monsters and madmen who threaten to resurrect dark gods. But a dangerous pact with an ancient blade could save this realm from destruction. And be willing to sacrifice all that you hold dear to win a war for the future of humanity. You have been chosen to bring together allies and enemies. You will be tested. But you are not alone. Excalibur calls. Will you answer?
Thank you so much to King Arthur Legends Rise for sponsoring this video. And if you want to check it out yourself, you can use that using the link in the description down below. Also, don't forget that pre-registration is available now, so go do yourself a favor and check it out. Thank you so much to King Arthur Legends Rise for sponsoring the video. Okay, so what we learned at the end of Terminus was that Richtofen was essentially chasing something called the Sentinel Artifact, and those of you astute zombie players should know exactly what this is and why this is important. So when Black Ops 4 came out in 2018, we had a completely separate storyline called the Chaos Universe that was entirely disconnected from Ether, and eventually that ended up basically getting canceled, and so the Chaos storyline just exists as this little pocket in Zombies where it was totally unrelated, but it kind of just lived and died in its own little bubble. And you might think that Black Ops 6 is the first game to sort of canonize this event or bring these two into one in this new Dark Ether timeline, but that's actually not the case. We got our first reference to the Chaos storyline all the way back in Vanguard Zombies, if you can believe it. In the map Shinonuma that got released on that game, there was a radio that talks about Dr. Kraft, and it also talks about the Sentinel Artifact, and it brings up, a multitude of other characters from the Chaos storyline. And what they've done all the way back in that game, and it's now paying off here, is they've sort of canonized the Chaos storyline from Black Ops 4 and are bringing it into this universe with completely unknown ramifications. Like, I can't even begin to speculate what that's going to mean for the rest of the mode, but what we can at least talk about is the direction this points us towards DLC 1, which will be coming very soon, and that's not only, supported by the leaks that came out a couple of months ago with a map called The Keep, but once again, on the screen at the Terminus outro, it is literally called The Keep. It's referring to Avalon, and let's talk about what that means for the Zombies map. Now, apparently, this map has been described by Treyarch as absolutely terrifying. This is supposed to be a map, I guess, more more centered around horror or, you know, kind of more terrifying elements. And what exactly is a keep? This is typically like some kind of castle or a stronghold, and evidently this keep in Avalon that we're talking about here in Zombies houses the Sentinel artifact, which is the big like thing in the Chaos storyline. That's what virtually the entire storyline up to where we were was centered around. So the Sentinel artifact is back. This is also on the back of the map on Terminus. You can sort of mesmerize it with the Wonder Weapon and it will teleport you somewhere, and that's kind of exactly what it does in the Chaos storyline maps anyways. And obviously it does a lot more than just teleporting you. This is a seriously impactful thing on the storyline because of how much ramifications this carries along with it. Now at the end of the Terminus outro, we get introduced to a man named Franco, who essentially like hired a bunch of operatives to try to hunt down the Sentinel artifact, as well as Richthofen's going for it. And so this sort of employs the help of Gabriel Kraft, who he appeared in Black Ops Cold War and was also heavily mentioned in Vanguard. And so that means all of the Dark Ether timeline, the Vanguard timeline, and potentially now even the Chaos storyline are all in play here in this brand new Dark Ether universe, which, you know, the Dark Ether universe for me in Cold War was like interesting, but it didn't really grip me the same way as the original zombie storyline did. But now I'm getting invested again in a totally different way because I have no idea what is going on anymore. And basically all my expectations have been blown out of the water, and all of my theories are kind of gone now because literally the door is so open to anything. But let's get back to the keep for a second and the setting of the DLC 1 map. This is going to take place in England, obviously in Avalon, and it's also going to be centered around supposedly King Arthur's keep. And so what does that include? Well, this is obviously Legends of the Round Table, Excalibur, and so on. That could end up being maybe potentially a wonder weapon in the map. Now, if we look at some of the history and mythology of King Arthur's keep and Avalon specifically, we can see that studies in the Arthurian legend preferred a link of the name Avalon with that of Alabok, which is a hypothetical dark Celtic divinity. And to me, that does sound weirdly like what's going on. There is this dark entity that is essentially defining this Dark Ether timeline that is, you know, a somewhat unknown figure or entity at this point, but that does sound eerily relevant to what is going on. So I do think that's pointing towards what we're getting at here. For this DLC 1 map, I'm expecting a castle type map that is more centered around horror or at least scarier aspects to the map, and we are also going to be toying around with King Arthur's mythology, and I think the all the mythology around Avalon is incredibly interesting on its own. Now the question you might have is, when is this map coming out? We know that, you know, from Kevin Drew's interviews that he said that this map will be releasing by the end of 2024, and I don't think it's going to be coming right away when DLC 1 drops on November 14th. It will probably come in the Season 1 Reloaded update, which will most likely be sometime around like mid-December, maybe like December 10th to 11th, something like that is what I would predict. But regardless, we have the setup and setting of DLC 1 right in front of us. It's going to be taking place at the Keep. We're going to be hunting down Franco and still pursuing Dr. Edward Richtofen. So, and we're also going after the Sentinel artifact, and I cannot believe I'm saying that in the year 2024. That is absolutely crazy. But the other thing I wanted to add is that given that Chaos is now a canon part of this universe, I can honestly see them using a lot of scrapped ideas and assets that never made it to the official game. And we knew the map after Ancient Evil was supposed to be something along the lines of the Library of Alexandria, and I've heard other things about DLC 4 for that game as well that involve some kind of festival map in Morocco, and obviously none of these are Avalon per se, but I wouldn't be surprised if they use a lot of those ideas and maybe assets that were built for those maps in the DLC season of Black Ops 6, or maybe even beyond. I don't know, but this all sounds incredibly interesting, and I'm already more excited for DLC 1 of this game than I was for Cold War. Firebase Z was just, I mean, it was cool, but it was just like a normal bad guy military base. Playing in King Arthur's Keep sounds already a lot more fascinating, and chasing down the Sentinel artifact along with hunting down Edward Richtofen, I have no clue where this is going, but I wanted to give you guys all of the information at hand right now, and of course I will update you whenever some more information does come out about the actual release date of the map. But I would expect sometime around mid-December is probably a safe bet. But that's it for me. Leave a like on the video, subscribe if you guys haven't. Thank you so much for all the support on the channel recently. We are closing in on 600K. I love you guys so much. I appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out, guys.